Damn.
Welcome everyone to Aero Sentinel's channel. Today we are going to give you the initial impressions of the FX Impact, and this is the 35 cal. So if you're wondering, oh yeah, there's a lot of Impact reviews. No, this is a 35 cal, and not only that, we're going to give you honest impressions of it. We're not going to glamorize the rifle like many reviewers out there, like, oh my god, this is the greatest thing ever, like God's creation, this is the best thing. We're not going to do that for you, not in this channel, and because we're not promoted, and because we can, and because there's so many information out there that's so convoluted. How does a company or manufacturers or dealers know what they got to do better on if everybody's saying, oh great this, great that, blah blah blah. So we're like linear, we're not, they're just pushing things out there. And on top of that, you know, we'd like to give a shout out to Chad Simmons with Lito Air. We're not promoted by him or any dealer or manufacturer like we just mentioned. It's more so respect. It's because you know, it deserves that level of mention, because Chad Simmons, real professional, mano a mano type of guy, very responsive, and that's the type that you want to deal with. I mean, he won't BS you. When he says he's on the road, like he's journeying someplace else, he's on the road and he's gonna call you right back or message you right back as soon as he gets off the road. He pulls over and then message you and correlates with you, that sort of deal. Like, I mean, really awesome service. I couldn't ask for anything more. Very confident that I went with him. And at the same time, it's not like one of those where I placed an order and my money is sitting someplace else on somebody's bank account, like all of these dealers out there. With Chad, I could have changed my mind anytime. I could have just completely backed out or told him I want a different rifle instead. But, and you know, knowing that the lead time with FX as well, you know, they mention a product before they develop the product, and then they just have one gun for show and feature, and then years later they still haven't caught up with the dang demand, knowing that, you know, everyone's looking out for that product or whatever else. And that's, I mean, man up, do something. Don't produce a gun and say we have it out there and, you know, it's gonna come out in a couple of months, and then you're way behind and then you can't meet demands. And then you, of course, you can't blame dealers as well when you place an order with them and you've sort of just been waiting. Well, you can't blame them because they get shortchanged by FX. You know, they say they'll send so many rifles sometimes and they really don't, because they can't meet the demand. So I really advise, like, manufacturers like FX to not mention something that is gonna come out soon and then it doesn't, and it leaves people waiting. And then on top of that, you know, yes, I get it, it's this COVID thing, but that only goes so far when it comes to excuses. This has been routine with FX, but you know, and that's no malice to FX. It's just the nature of producing, making sure that people are on the waiting list and that sort of deal for the product. So they give it mention well ahead of time before mass production. And well, I think that's wrong ways about things. I think they should just mass produce, build up their quantities, and then say it'll come out, and then push it out, and then a lot more people will be happy every single time. I think that's the way to do it. But anyway, that's just my thoughts, that's opinions, so these are not facts. But with Chad Simmons, like I said, going back to customer service, we were just gonna make sure that right on. I mean, I couldn't ask for anything more. It's just, I was confident the whole way. I mean, the man dropped his chaotic disaster that was happening in his basement, that it was flooding, and he told me that he's gonna try and put ship out my product. I'm like, dude, I gotta pay you. Like, I haven't even paid you. You're gonna ship it out. Like, take care of your, I'm at work that time, and it's like, take care of your basement first, because he says it's flooding. And I'm like, I was not even waiting. Like, I'm in no rush. I expected longer lead time coming from FX, so I didn't. But it got to us in a month. From the time we placed an order to when we got it. So we received it. It's actually been sitting in a box for quite some time. It's one of those 5-month deals where it's like, FX, I'm gonna wait, and then 8 months later it's still waiting. Some stories you hear, disasters like that, but it just depends, I guess. Demand, the region, that sort of deal. But for this type, we've had it July 5th. It's actually been sitting in a box longer than it's been out. And we need time with it. But with the COVID scenario, with the world and all of that stuff, lockdown, it hasn't been easy. So just mind you, we are gonna do first trial with it. And also the thing about it is 800 millimeter barrel. It's long, but being that it's a bullpup, it's manageable. It's not like the Air Force Texans where it is long. I mean, look at it. With the Ronin, it's with this. It comes with this, and I just well ahead of before the rifle even came in, I ordered the Ronin and compared the Ronin that I had, the small bore for, and this Ronin, which is a big bore, and compared the internal, see what made a difference, any modification. It's exactly the same. The only difference with this is I was actually wondering why, if it's a big bore, knowing that there's vast majority of air or volume that's gonna be pushed out, and the sound that it needs to quiet down, there was a lot less dampening internally. So I was really curious about that, because when I compared it to the Ronin, the small bore, the 25 cal Ronin that we have, there was a lot more dampening on there. So I was like, is that right? Is it supposed to be? Well, to me it's not, so I did do some internal work with it, and a lot more dampening. I changed the dampening, and it's actually a little bit less quieter, not by much, slightly quieter than the original. Of course, now that we've maxed out the dampening and different material as well that we used. And with this, I know a lot of you folks will be like, oh yeah, it's, and you folks are struggling. At 50 meters, this was preferred because knowing that it's it's a longer barrel, and this is much lighter, we would have sacrificed a little bit of loudness for barrel droop, and slightly lighter, because this is definitely lighter than a Ronin. But with experimentation that we did out there, this at 50 meters spreads. So if you're wondering like, oh man, my FX is not good, and you tuned it or whatever, or somebody else tuned it and you got this, it's this. Alright, but that's just from our experience, and we just want to mention that for those of you that are wondering, well, remove your koi. I believe this is a koi. I'm not really familiar with anything else. I'm more familiar with the Ronin. But yeah, remove this and then try without a moderator, and then shoot. You'll notice that the group tightens up. And then when we place this, that grouping, it's similar as if it's without, just quieter. But where we still have to spend more time with it, and we mentioned in the I mentioned in the Facebook crowd that, you know, initial preview of what's to come with this rifle with pictures was that I said it's definitely a unique specimen. Well, it's a unique specimen because it's a big bore, and I've tried quite a few slugs, from the 79 grain NSAs, the 85 grain NSAs, the Grizzly, but it's expected that Grizzlies suck with every rifle that we tried. In the small bore, big bore, whatever, Grizzly sucks. But we tried it. We thought maybe it will do well on this one, and it doesn't. The only thing that this one likes is the JSB 81, 81.02 grain, and it also likes the poly mag. That's it. That's the only two, which is okay, right? But I said unique specimen because of the fact that I expected that this big bore could shoot slugs. And we've also tried a couple that slugs, different weight. We have to play with the variations, but we made custom slugs as well. And it didn't like it either. So we have yet to play around with it, with the slug swage that we make, and then see what it likes or how it likes it. But anyway, if you're gonna expect to be shooting this, don't expect that this is practical. These are one-off, meaning you gotta single load it, and it's very, very finicky because it's long and it's not gonna fit. You have to properly you have to slide it in there right just to get it in. But because I was adamant at trying it, I wanted to see what it can do, I made it work. And it does fit in there. It just takes a bit of work to get in there. But practicality wise, this will not work. You're gonna have to single load it and manually do it and slide it in a certain way just to get it in there, because it will not fit in the magazine. And the thing I hate about this magazine as well, for hunting purposes, and I'm stalking, this is in my pocket. Friggin' A, you know, that's like waking up the whole dang neighborhood, you know, the whole entire forest line with this darn thing. I mean, it's noisy. So we're probably gonna have to make a little bit modification to this to get that quieter. And also on top of that, from max 30s, very consistent. I tuned it. We still have to spend time with it. So far it's okay. It's not there with regards to where we're at. We're gonna do first trial, but at 36 from max max pressure, 250 bar. You know, it can do, on paper it says 150 FPE. We are not even close to 150 FPE. We're way down actually. And we tuned it for accuracy. With that said, we're at standard deviation of 2 across a full shot string, from max fill all the way to right before it falls off reg, and we get 36 full power shots. Full power meaning at our tune. Okay, so we tuned it for that, and we get extreme spread of only 9. So you can see there, 9 across the full shot string and only 9 extreme spread. Standard deviation, the shot to shot consistency, is only a variation of 2 feet per second variation. That is very tight. So if you think this is not tuned, it's tuned. It's just now we have to familiarize ourselves with, because it's loud, there's a definite recoil. So we need to familiarize ourselves with the rifle, handling the characteristics. And so we harmonically tune ourselves in a sense to be one with the rifle, so to speak. And so with that said, we need more time with it, but it doesn't like anything except this in a magazine. and this single load, but very, very finicky, like you really gotta play with it. If you're getting your spreads with this, remove this and do without a moderator, and you'll see it, you'll tighten up, because this spreads even at 50 meters. That Ronin tightens up with it, so I highly recommend the Ronin with regards to this big bore. And with that said, we fitted it with the Strike Eagle, Vortex Strike Eagle 5 by 25 by 56 34 millimeter tube, MRAD, EBR 7 Charlie reticle or something like that. But yeah, awesome combo. Very, very happy with the Strike Eagle. We were like wondering, on paper I actually looked at it and I was like, what the hell, like no way, not at that price range, no way, right? So I'm curious, and I looked at it on paper, I was like, no way. I compared it to other scopes, I was like, no way. So we went ahead and purchased it, and wow, one of our new favorites. You know, our favorite that cannot be beat by even $1,200 scope, which is only a $700 scope, is the SWFA. And those are crystal clear, awesome, military proven, military grade scopes. And we have two of those. Well, we're gonna buy probably another one of this because we're so happy with it. With that said, I mean, more to come. It is definitely long. It's 37.75 without the moderator. Overall length, that is 958.85 millimeter. In inches with the Ronin, it is 43.75. That is 1,111 millimeter approximate, and it is the full configuration as you see it here. Bipod, the scope, the Ronin as you see it without the magazine, of course, is a total of 11.2 pounds. That is approximately 5.08 kilograms. So again, we need more time. The max setting that we got it for, because we tuned it for accuracy, and we know that the speeds that we want it to be at, we tuned it for a particular speed. Now we're gonna play around with that speed with the power wheel, and I mean, you're definitely gonna see this go. We'll do more tests before we take it out on its hunt. We want to make sure that it's consistent. We want to make sure that it's fully capable and tuned. And at this point, we're not doubting that, but we just need to spend more time. We've only taken it for a short period, three times probably, and that's including zeroing the scope and short amount, which is basically probably 2 hours, and that's including from the time we're leaving our home to the time we get to where we're at and to do our testing or zeroing and that sort of deal. So very short, and this COVID lockdown is not making things easy, but you'll see more with this rifle as we spend more time with it, and we shall give you the raw detail of where we're at with it, what it's doing, that sort of deal. For now, yes, there was a leak originally, but it was a very, very slow leak, and we tore it apart and redid. We didn't see anything odd. It probably was one of either the valving on this or the stuff, because we didn't see any O-ring or Durlin stuff that was out of place or nicked, and we looked at the O-rings under a microscope and that sort of deal. No nicks whatsoever, but we went ahead, tore it apart, and we do that with every rifle just to make sure that there's nothing that will break when we take it out for field testing, and make sure everything's solid, nothing is loose, that sort of deal. So it's set, and we're gonna mess around with it more. See y'all later. Stay tuned for more videos.
Raw people on YouTube, you call me a homo, but you think I stand by this? Well, that shit is a no-go. You're all coming one, because when